Dear friends of scams and pretty faces, today we'll take a look of how easy it can be to trick people and steal millions with beauty. Get ready to discover how it was possible, where did the money go, and how it might involve even the Russia-Ukraine war. Valeria Fedyakina, a 24-year-old Russian social media influencer known as Bitmama, is facing serious legal repercussions for allegedly embezzling around $22 million for a cryptocurrency fraud scheme. She was accused of operating a pyramid scheme that targeted at least 4 wealthy individuals, promising them high returns on their investments within a remarkably short time frame. Despite some victims claiming losses as high as 70 million, official investigations have confirmed that approximately 17 million to 22 million was misappropriated from those individuals within just 2 months at the end of year 2023. Following a year-long investigation, Fedyakina was arrested in September 2023 as she attempted to flee to the United Arab Emirates while being 6 months pregnant. She is currently facing up to 10 years in prison if convicted. But how could the self-called crypto queen steal millions from the rich? Well, the scheme was sophisticated and multi-layered, involving several steps to gain the trust of her victims and eventually defraud them. First, Valeria portrayed herself as an international cryptocurrency expert, with global offices in locations like Moscow, Dubai, Monaco, Serbia, and Turkey. She presented a facade of credibility, using her social media platforms to solidify her image as a successful entrepreneur, which helped her attract wealthy investors. Using her influence and status, she promoted herself as a gateway to lucrative crypto and energy investments. The Bitmama also claimed to offer cross-border payment solutions and using cryptocurrency, which became increasingly appealing under the current Russia financial sanctions. And she presented herself basically as a trusted agent who could circumvent the current banking restrictions. Also, to solidify her scheme, she introduced a fake energy transport investment plan, claiming that investors could earn large profits quickly. Her pyramid scheme promised guaranteed high returns, including a supposed 1% profit on funds converted into cryptocurrency and sent abroad to Dubai to avoid, of course, banking restrictions. However, after numerous complaints from investors who lost substantial amounts, Russian law enforcement launched a detailed investigation. After nearly a year of investigation, she was tracked down and apprehended while trying to flee to the United Arab Emirates. Initially granted house arrest due to her pregnancy, she was later detained following the birth of her child, and she now faces formal charges in November 2024. But this still leaves us with the question, where did the money go? Well, preliminary findings suggest that she was not alone. Apparently, 2 men, Gagi Gulyakian and Vagram Stepanian, were also involved in the fraud, and according to some sources, Valeria did not even have a direct intention to commit the crime. Interestingly, there are articles that state that Valeria was also a victim, and her business partners, Gulyakian and Stepanian, took advantage of her, and that the young Russian influencer became the face of a pyramid scheme that was directed by the 2 experienced Armenian businessmen. Initially, Valeria's role was limited to converting and passing funds between Gulyakian in Moscow and Stepanian in the UAE, earning her small commissions. However, her Armenian business partner soon persuaded her to aggressively undercut competitors, operating at a loss to expand their client base. And while Fedyakina continued to take financial losses to dominate the market, Gulyakian and Stepanian profited substantially, collecting hefty commissions and a direct cut of each client transfer. This also increased the volume of transactions they supervised, allowing them to profit from a larger pool of clients, while Valeria bore the operating costs. By September 2023, Fedyakina gathered significant funds from clients with promises of UAE transfers, but none of this money ever reached Fedyakina. Now Fedyakina is in custody. Speculations state that Stepanian has purchased luxury properties in Dubai, and Fedyakina is reportedly negotiating victims and has state protection. During my investigations, I also noticed that the website Bitmama was able to identify the direct stream of the money, as it uncovered cryptocurrency addresses tied to Valeria Fedyakina and her alleged co-conspirators. The analysis reveals a deliberate effort to obscure the flow of funds by spreading money across numerous addresses, also those including her scam partners, which could make actually sense, as those seem to have been the final destiny of the money before it was completely distributed and withdrawn. So let's look at the transactions. In mid-September 2023, around 12.3 million was withdrawn from key addresses linked to Valeria and spread to multiple addresses. Each transfer split the funds further across new addresses, making it harder and harder to trace. The funds initially ended up at addresses associated with exchanges like Binance, Bybit, HTX, and Garantex. This suggested some funds could have been converted to fiat or sent to personal accounts. These exchanges, where tracking them becomes even more difficult. What is also quite interesting when doing my investigations, there are also some voices that claim that she only did this to help Ukraine and financially, and that it was purely politically motivated. So I asked myself the same question: could this really be? As on the one side, there are claims that a portion of the embezzled funds have been redirected to support Ukrainian military efforts, and this would imply that Fedyakina had some political leanings towards Ukraine, which would position her action as a potential aid to an entity Russia considers an enemy. By funneling funds to Ukraine, she might have intended to weaken Russia's position in the conflict indirectly. However, on the other side, on the con side, a pyramid scheme appears to be very much financially motivated, with little direct evidence of political intent. The core drive was personal profit, likely heightened by the manipulation at the hands of the experienced criminals. Her act compliance used her reputation to further their own profits, suggesting that her actions were not politically motivated, but rather opportunistic and influenced by deceit. And in contrast to what most people say, her defense actually has denied any anti-Russia claims and stated she supported Russia's occupation of the Ukraine war. This attempt to assert loyalty to Russia underscores also her attempt to dissociate it from political motivations, portraying her instead as a victim of a criminal scheme without ideological leanings. And also what people seem to forget is that though 20 million is a significant amount, it pales compared to the billions Ukraine has received from international aid. It's unlikely for me someone would take such severe risks for minimal impact on the conflict, suggesting her motivations were financially driven rather than politically inclined. Finally, there's also a relatively lenient sentence for a politically sensitive case. I mean, if authorities truly believe that she was aiding Ukraine, particularly under the current Russian administration, her sentence would likely be a lot harsher than just 10 years. This comparatively mild sentence hints that the Russian authorities view her more as a fraudster manipulated by criminals, rather than someone with anti-Russian motives. So in my opinion, it is evident that the criminal scheme was not politically motivated, as her actions were rooted in personal profit and guided by financial manipulation. Thieves rarely create complex marketing schemes to steal money only to donate it to a political cause, making it highly improbable to me that her intent was to aid Ukraine. I personally believe that the real criminals behind the scam, the ones who stole most of the money, looked for a pretty face like Valeria's that could attract more investors, and which would make it also easy to attract even more investors over their contacts. And knowing that she's not an expert in the space, this made it very simple. However, let me know what you think. Do you think she's actually innocent and that she was a victim of the devious crooks? Or do you think she actually knows a lot more than she claimed? That's it for today. Make sure to check out my previous videos about financial scams, as I want you to be prepared in a world that is revolutionary and incredible, but can also be scary, as even seemingly legit projects can have dark intentions.